folks, Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Coming blog post, I want to share the course review, the latest in social media and technology. We're doing a review today of the AT&T Sony Xperia Ion. Now, we reviewed this phone before. It first came out with Gingerbread 2.3.7 on it when it first came out. It just recently this week got updated to 4.04 Android OS update on it. So it's faster, cooler, lighter, beautifuler. We love it. It's awesome. So we're doing new updates, new comparisons on this phone as we feel it's much more now competitive to other phones in the market. You can go to amzn.to to see this phone, AT&T.com. Thanks to AT&T for providing the phones for us. And the 4.04 software update. It's pretty awesome. And finally delivers on the promise of a good phone. So we're going to benchmark it, show you photos, all that good stuff that we've been doing with the device. We're very happy that it's been upgraded. It's a much better device with the upgrade. So be sure to subscribe to the ChrisVossShow.com email list and also our YouTube channel so you can get all the latest and greatest with all the phone companies now we have sending us stuff. You can see the latest stuff that we're reviewing. Let's talk about this phone and what's in it now. The height is 5.2 inches in height, 2.7 in width, 0.4 in thickness, with a weight of 5.1 ounces. Has talk time of 4 hours max, standby 350 hours max, 1900 milliamp lithium battery. Has an LCD color TFT resolution, 720 by 1280 pixels, 4.5 diagonal. Color is 16 million, 24-bit. It originally comes with Gingerbread 2.3.7. Now, on the US version, you can get it with 4.04. I believe the international version of this device came with 4.04, or at least 4.0. So this is the US version we're talking about. Processor is a 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S3 dual-core processor, 16 gigabytes internal storage, raw hardware, 13.2 internal storage. Available user is 1 gigabyte of RAM. Has expandable 32 gigabyte memory. SD card you can put in the back, of course, doesn't come with it. But on the back, it has a resolution 12 megapixel camera, and the front resolution on the device has 1.3 megapixel on the camera, of course 1080p HD resolution on it. So it's an awesome thing, and we've really enjoyed having it. We've had it actually for quite a few months, and we've been hoping that it would get updated to this new OS, so we're really happy. Now you can see here it's basically got the swipe system, finite swipe if you will. You can add different widgets and stuff like that. The menus didn't change too much. There's a few different added beeps to it, and definitely added much more better speed scrolling. Everything seems to be a whole lot better. It's a much more enjoyable process that we can have on the device. You can see here our notifications drop down. Not much change there. Widgets, of course, are the same. Just seems to be a better operating and more responsive system overall from what we can see. We don't know if there was any camera tweaks or anything like that went on with it. On the top, we have the speaker for you making calls. On the front-facing camera we have here, and then on the bottom we have the menu, the home button, the back button, and a search button. You have also the ability that a lot of people like on the Android to be able to make widgets, kind of a different way of adding widgets here to the system that they're using on the UI, but still works the same. You can see some of the different widgets that are there on the Sony. It looks like they had the Walkman there and a few things that are within their product. Let's flip this baby over so that you can see the back of it. On the back of the Sony, you're looking at, looks like we've got some hairs from the dogs. On the back of the Sony, there is a camera eye, your lamp flash. There is the speaker. Still not excited about the speaker after all the time we've had it. It's not the loudest, greatest speaker. Best thing to use is a Bluetooth or a Bluetooth external speaker. It works, but it's just not that loud as we want it. Sometimes during speakerphone, you struggle to hear stuff, even though there is an amplification on the speakerphone. So not the greatest speaker in the world, but there's ways around that where you can take and use Bluetooth speakers like we do, or Bluetooth headsets. One thing about this device is the top does pop off, where you can insert your SIM card in here, and then you can also insert your up to 32 gigabyte expandable SIM card into the device there. Okay. Okay, here's the bottom of the device, and you can see here we have a small microphone hole here. On the top, it's kind of cool. They have an earphone jack on the top of the device. It's kind of interesting. If you're left-hand or right-hand, sometimes the headphone jack on a device can get in your hands in your way. So it's cool they put it in the center. Okay, so down the right-hand side of the device, we have a shutter button. We have a rocker button, up and down for volume, and we have a power button. On the other side of the device, we have a pop-out, and basically what this does is when you pop this out, you can plug this into an HDMI TV. You can have a micro USB for charging and sync, of course, for here. We have a micro SD port where you can plug this in and be able to put it to your TV. It's really cool. It gives you a AirPlay iOS iPad to TV sort of experience. It creates a whole new sort of presentation where it looks very much like there's a row of icons here, and it's really cool. So you can watch and play with different apps on your HDMI TV, which is very nice. Pretty interesting how they did that. Alright, so let's take a look at some results from the test of the device that we took and did. And you can see some of the benchmarking. We'll show you the cameras, we'll show you how the front-facing camera works and everything else. So let's get into it. First, we're going to get into the speed test of the device. You can see that. Now, of course, we're going to be using the log here so that if you do see that we have the Wi-Fi on, this is a previous log that was taken with the Wi-Fi off. So you can see here, these are the scores we're getting. Of course, the phone's from AT&T, which has a really good 4G LTE network. You can see the processing speeds that the device took and got, and it did a pretty fair job at downloading and upload. Of course, your speeds may vary depending upon what part of the country you're in. Let's take a look at a few other tests that we can take and go into. One test we're going to look at, this is the Velamo test. This will pull in SunSpider, scripting, and everything else, and a lot of different tests that it pulls from. For HTML5 Velamo test on this app, it came in at 1401 was the score for the new updated OS, and 1387 metal score on the Velamo app. Let's take a look at a few other quick things we can pull from logs without having to activate doing a benchmark, and we can quickly get through these for you here and show you some of the data. Now, on the amzn.to benchmark scores, it scored a 6781. That's 6781. You can see the different scores down here, CPU integers, float points, all that good stuff. Let's get into more of the scores here. Okay, so here you can see the Geekbench score on the device, and we took and scored 944. You can see some of the integer results here. 944 on the Geekbench, that's pretty much a Geekbench 2 is what a lot of people use as a determining factor for how well a device will run in benchmarking. You can pause the video if you want to see any of the individual scores, which really aren't too important because they're totaled up. But you can see here the breakdown of the scores as they came out on the device. Okay, so now here we can see this is a Quadrant Standard test that we've done. You can see how the device performed amongst other devices. Our device came in at 3115. The ASUS Transformer Prime and HTC One X outperformed it, but it beat a lot of other ones down the line. Okay, so here what we have is this is the Passmark performance test. You can see here with the benchmark, it came in at 1837 on the system. Came in on the CPU test at 4001, disk test 2075, on the memory test 1724, on the 2D graphics test 1826, and on 3D graphics test 739. Here you can see the display test on the device. We found it's got a pretty good display test. Sometimes it came in a little weaker against other newer phones that are out there on the market, very fast, or much more expensive, I should add, too. So it's got a good display, and the colors are definitely bright and colorful, and it's going to give you good results. Some of the newer Android phones that we did compare it to, though, did benchmark higher. Okay, so here we're testing the GPS scores. You can see how many satellites it's picking up. It's got about 20 in view, 10 in use, and coming with an accuracy of about 16 feet, which isn't too bad. 10 feet is better, but 16 feet is not bad at all. It tends to vary from different times of the day, too. Okay, so here you can see the KFS benchmark on the device, and it runs basically a test of overall frames per second. It came in at 22.479 frames per second. Okay, so here you can see our billion counter test. This tests how fast the device can count to a billion. You can see it did it in 30.421 seconds. Okay, so here we can see the benchmark scores using the AnTuTu 3D rating benchmark. Came at 2,074 on this rating. Okay, now here we can see the Andy bench score, and what this does is this pulls the threads and how fast the device can operate with threads, both native and Java. You can see here it scored 4,026 on the native threads, and on the Java threads 152. Here you can see the SQL test that we do from RL Benchmark from SQLite Performance. You see the different inserts, indexes, and speeds that it took and did to make different tables, etc., and basically test the device. It came in with 72.464 second score. Okay, so this is the speed test we did of the hotspot for the Sony. We were using the Sony as a hotspot, and then what we're doing is running it through an iPad. And then doing speed tests using the Sony's hotspot. So you can see here the results and numbers that we got in the service from the Sony as a hotspot. Okay, so now here's a call that we're taking and doing through the AT&T network, where we're processing a call through Skype. In this case, we're not using a localized Wi-Fi. We're using a front-facing camera going through the AT&T network. Definitely got some slow delays here that we're running into. Could be our location that we're at and the antenna or whatever area we're in. But we should be getting a good feed from AT&T. Who knows what it could be? It could be the processor on the Sony is just not outputting as well when it's running through a more limited source such as the AT&T network as compared to a localized Wi-Fi. Because you could see earlier on localized Wi-Fi I got a great image. So there you go. It sounds to speak a lot of the processor in each device and how they process images and data. Okay, so let's take a look at the camera on the Sony. It's got a great camera on it at 12 megapixels. Originally when we reviewed this phone, we reviewed it against the iPhone 4S, and it came out really well in comparing with the phones with the 4S. Now, like all Android phones, you've got to switch over here. Of course, there's switches in different places in different Android phones, but they have some of the same features. You got to switch between your camera and your video. You've got your shutter button here. You've got an area to get into your pictures. You've got different ways to control screens for scene recognition. You've also got different scenes you can take and do. You can control your iOS settings. You can see over here, and you can of course control your lamp settings for red eye reduction, fill flash, all that sort of good stuff. You also have the ability to control a lot of this stuff, the resolution you're using, etc., geotagging, saving, capturing method, all sorts of different ways that you can take and do to customize this menu. Same thing with when you go into video mode. You of course have the ability to change different scenes on video mode. You can use video camera or the front camera to record, all that good stuff. You can change your ISO. You can of course make it so you use the lamp or not. Camera wise, it came out with great photos for us. Here you can see a low light video that we're taking the lamp on the back of the video camera, and this is a completely dark situation that we're playing this or recording this video in, but in essence you can see here that it brightens up everything really well. It's got a great lamp to it and takes really good color completely in the dark video, as you can see there. Here's some pictures of flash, and this is completely in the dark, so this is getting the colors in a flash. The lamp flash on it's really good. This first one we were moving the device around, so we didn't get a good, it had some trouble getting the focus before it hit it. This was a good hit with the focus where we kept it in one place. You can see here some really beautiful pictures that it came out with and was able to take. You can see here the detail on the road, see the rugged detail on the road and the dig and the rock formations on the asphalt. So it came out really well with the pictures that we took. Great, beautiful pictures with this camera, and it's really hard to go wrong. So we love the camera on the Sony Xperia Ion 12 megapixel back camera. It's really nice. Okay, so overall I really like the device. It's been one of a favorite toy to play with. I love the 12 pixel MP pixel camera on the back, and it's great to hook into your HDMI TV to be able to see that way on the screen. So be sure to check it out. You can go to AT&T.com. That's AT&T.com. Be sure to see all the wonderful phones they have. We review all of them, of course, on the ChrisVossShow.com. Be sure to tune into our YouTube channel, subscribe, and also our email list on the chrisvossshow.com, as we have all the major phone companies sending us phones now. Definitely want to see what's coming up. And be sure to check out the Sony. Let me know what you think on that. And tell AT&T we sent you. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Thanks for coming by.